In my experience, the thing that has single-handedly been the key characteristic or attribute that has allowed me to learn faster than other people or to do better in certain aspects, even when I'm starting off behind, is the fact that I am just not afraid of failing. And just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Zach. I've been a software developer for the last 12 years. I've also been running a marketing agency named Braxter for the last 7, in which we've been able to generate over $13 million in revenue for our clients. So obviously I've had to learn a lot of different things, fail quickly, fail often, in order to figure out how to do things better. And so that's why I'm talking to you about this today. I am actually encouraged by failing because it gives me more opportunities to learn and to spot the places that I can improve in. And I think this has a pretty big correlation with the fact that I didn't really do that well in school. And it was never really because the work was hard or anything like that, but more so just because I didn't enjoy the structure that it worked in. I didn't like the way that the answers were given. I didn't like the way the classes were positioned or structured and framed, and how there's only one right answer to everything. And even if you solve it in a different way, that's not acceptable. The schedules never really worked well with me. The way the information is given didn't work for me. But I think that that actually was a good thing for me in the long run. And so the point of this video is more so to explain how school or traditional schooling and the kind of way that it sets you up is quite brittle, in my opinion, in that you have to follow this regiment, and like I mentioned, there's only one right answer. There's a perfect solution. And so we kind of see the outcome of that way of thinking in that so many people doubt themselves so much because they get thrown out into this world where that is not the case. There is no perfect solution to any problem, especially when you're starting a business or you're trying to start a business or you're even just thinking about it. You start looking for the perfect solution. You start looking for the best type of business. I need to make the perfect product. I need to find the perfect customer. What's my ideal customer? Everything needs to be perfect, perfect, perfect. I don't want to be embarrassed in front of everybody by doing something imperfectly. And I still struggle with that, in that I try to get things right. But the thing that has always just helped me to move faster and to get better really quickly has been just when I don't worry too much about it, I just do it. And then I figure out how to make it better as I'm going. And we see this type of advice being given out, like in the entrepreneurial space all over the place, where they say just move fast and break things, and just launch it, even if it's the dirty version or the MVP, like just launch the first version, get it out into the world, and then try to improve upon it. And we understand this once we've done it, but it's really hard to understand that when you come from the school system and how it sets you up in this way, and you're encouraged by even your authority figures that this is the way it has to be. You need to do things exactly. You need to get the right grades by this time to then make it into this university. And if you don't get that university degree, then you can't have that job, and then your whole life basically is a failure if you don't do it specifically this way. Whereas in business, you can do it 1,000 different ways, and it doesn't matter which way you do it as long as the outcome is the same. Which leads me to another aspect of how it's different from the real world, and that is that the real world mostly cares about the output. They don't care how hard you worked on the thing. They don't care how much effort you put into it. They care about if it is what they want and if it makes their life better. You could take this in a bad way and say, well, they don't value my work. They don't value my time. If you can choose to view it from a different perspective, maybe you could actually put in less work, less time, and get paid even more for it and have people be even happier, because really you need to work with them in mind and then work backwards from that, and that's what you get paid from. So if you can make sure that it's presented more properly, if you can make sure that it really solves their problem for a much longer period of time, or they get it faster, or they're just happier with the experience, You could just get paid way more for the same work that you're already doing. And who doesn't want that? Because then actually they're valuing you even more than the time you spent on it. And this can be, again, really hard to understand, or to get your brain around this way of thinking that the world is really outcome focused as opposed to your effort. Like sometimes I will have contractors that they keep telling me about, oh, they worked so many hours on this, they worked so many hours on that. And you can tell that their primary focus is the hours that they work. Whereas me as the business owner, it's best for me if they work less hours but get more done, right? And this is always like the battle between people with different interests. And so you have to think about the customer, that they care most about the result, the final product. They don't want to know how many hours you worked. And if you take that sort of hourly thinking too far, then it becomes the only sort of dimension that you can even think of things in. Whereas, like I said, people care mostly about the output. So if you can work from that frame and backwards, it's going to open up your mind to so many more opportunities, ways to make money or ways to be successful in your business. And I didn't start off knowing that. And so that's just what I mean about like failing, messing up. Because I used to think like that. Well, if I want to do more business, I'm just going to sell more development hours to people. I'm just going to try to do more of the thing. And more is not necessarily a bad way to do it. It's only one dimension, right? Like maybe they only need so many development hours. Like I was running a development agency, and so I was selling software development to people. And maybe they only need so many hours, or they can only afford so many hours, but then they have a different type of budget for another type of expense. And so you'd be limiting yourself by just trying to sell them more of the exact same thing. So just to hammer it home again, that people don't care about how you make it if it doesn't serve their need. And school kind of limits you in just the way you think about it, the way you solve problems. It makes you hesitant to try out things that might not work. Whereas in business, pretty much everything can work or not work. You can actually make a bad choice, and then just on how you execute it, you can make it successful. Like I've talked about how I don't like restaurant businesses, and I think it'd be a very hard business to start. But if you had the marketing of Mr. Beast, then obviously you can make it work. Now, if the restaurant sucks, eventually it's not going to work out anyways. But you can at least make it somewhat successful just by being really good at marketing. And so that would be an example of how you could take something that isn't that great of a choice and still make it work. But in school, you don't have that choice. You can get a worse grade or a better grade, and it's quite limited. Quite similar to the last video I posted, where basically people are trying to get things perfect and they're worried about competing, and it's holding them back from just doing anything at all. Whereas if you just do something, you're already doing better than most people. So if you can just take that first step, get out of that old way of thinking and do something, it doesn't have to be perfect. There is no perfect product. There is no perfect launch. There's no perfect marketing. There's always trade-offs to everything. People worry, do I niche down? Do I be more broad market? There's trade-offs to both. Do I launch and grow to be a really big company or stay somewhat small? Trade-offs again. Like there's always trade-offs. So it's easier to think about what do you want the outcome to be for yourself. Just like a client would think about the outcome for them when they're going to buy from your company. What do you want the outcome of the business to be? Because if you want to be working all day because you really like work, then maybe this type of business is a good choice. Or if your goal is like passive income, whatever that really means, and you want to eventually remove yourself from the business, maybe you need to pick this type of business. And they're going to both have different setup costs that you have to think about. But you want the final outcome to be the thing that you're most concerned with. And like I said before in like one or two videos ago, that you don't need to worry about the competition, because it has never been easier to be successful, quote unquote. So few people are doing it. So you have the opportunity. Don't let the way that you were educated be the thing that holds you back, because those people don't have what you want. So if you want this, You have to break out of that way of thinking and don't view it from the same lens. You need to view it from a new lens. Like if you think like the Karate Kid type of thing, if you just empty your cup, then you try to view things from a fresh perspective. Like, how would a farmer have been paid in the old days? It would be based on his total fruitage or his total crop yield, right? He's not getting paid for the amount of effort. He's not getting a grade on it. People are just going to trade, and they're going to trade based on how good they judge his crop to be, right? It is the outcome. So if he can figure out a way to do the same outcome with less effort, then he is making more. The people don't really care how long it took him. They just care, do I get the corn that I want? Do I get the fruit that I want? Whatever it is. So it makes sense when we just step back and view it from how has value always been dictated. It's the total outcome. And there's multiple lenses that we can even view that value. Like Alex Hormozy has a really nice value equation, and I'll just remind myself of what it is. But basically, it's the person's dream outcome, their perceived likelihood of achievement, multiplied by each other, and then divided by the time delay, multiplied by the effort and sacrifice. And he gives this example of six-pack abs. We all know a guaranteed way to get six-pack abs is just to diet and exercise for a substantial amount of time, and then eventually you have six-pack abs, and it's pretty proven. It definitely works, calorie expenditure. But why don't people do it? Well, it's because it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort and sacrifice, and so that makes it not as attractive as an offer. Whereas people will spend $50,000 on a liposuction because they are certain they will get it. They know exactly how long it's going to take, but the sacrifice that they have to make is the money. So it is worth that much money in comparison to the time and effort that they would have to put in. So if we can kind of restructure our offerings and even maybe the way we structure the business with this in mind, it can help us come up with a lot of different ideas or new ways that we could pitch it and just get out of that old way of thinking that's potentially holding us back. But anyways, guys, that's all for today. I hope this was interesting for you. I wish somebody would have taught me this a bit sooner, but hey, it all works out in the end. Thank you for spending your time, and that's all for today. Bye.